Welcome to the E-Show with Neil Ravin. With over 1,000 NCAA commitments, the EHL is the proven path to college. Turn it up and learn more about the college placement leader at the Division II and III levels.
Welcome to the E-Show, presented by the Penalty Box Foundation. The Foundation's mission centers around their daily motto: we take care of our own, as they help out all of those within the hockey community who have experienced a catastrophic event. Learn more at penaltyboxfoundation.org. What's up? My name is Neil Ravin. This is episode number 80 of the E-Show, and on this week's episode, we chat with Terry Watt, the head coach and general manager of the Protec Jr. Ducks. July of 2021 feels a little bit different from July of 2020 for Watt, as he and the Ducks prepare for their second season in the EHL. The inaugural campaign went as well as the program could have asked for, as the league managed their way through a pandemic hockey season. After finishing in third place in the South and placing all of their AHL players into NCAA hockey, Watts got his sights set on taking a step further this year, and the end goal is to make it to Providence. I'm joined now by Terry Watt, the head coach and general manager of the Protec Jr. Ducks. How's it going, Terry?
I'm doing well, Neil. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for coming on the podcast for the first time. We did not get a chance to have you on last off season, so let's start with the comparison question. Compared to where you were last year to where you are this year, how do you feel about your program?
I feel pretty good about our program. Obviously, last year was a different year for everybody in hockey. But no, I'm happy the way we finished the year. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. And when we talk about this time last year in July, knowing that we were, encroaching our way towards a pandemic type season, were there nerves at all from you or anybody else in ownership there?
Honestly, no. I mean, and that's a testament to actually you guys at the league. I mean, anytime that we talked with you guys or we had coaches meetings or league meetings, you guys assured us that you were going to do everything possible to make sure that we actually had a season last year. We were going to have it start to finish. Obviously, being in our regular season and first year as an expansion team, there are some concerns, but I would, looking back on it, I would pretty much say everything went pretty smoothly, pretty good. And the league did a tremendous job of making sure that we had a season and we played all of our games start to finish.
And if I had a chance to have you on last summer before your first season coaching in the EHL, one of the main questions I was going to want to ask you was, it was obviously your first coaching job in juniors, taking over in a league that you actually played in. What did that mean to you to have played in what was the Atlantic Junior Hockey League that became the EHL? What did it mean to you to, be a player and then become a coach in this league?
To be honest with you, it was pretty surreal. It's like kind of like a full 360, where in the fact that when I played in this league, it obviously was a great league back then, and I know the EJ and the AJ merged over the years after I left, but it was a pretty cool to be able to relate to the players that played in this league, and I played in this league, and just to know how good this league always has been and how it's been run. It was a pretty cool experience, because this league is what pretty much gave me my career and started off my career. So it was very rewarding in that way.
Was it always a thought process of yours to become a coach first and then coach junior hockey?
Become a coach first. Yeah. So it's just funny how things work out. I mean, you play hockey for a while, you play college, you play pro, and then you don't know what's going to happen. And then I was very fortunate, very lucky. I was in the right place at the right time, where I got offered to coach in the NWHL, which is the highest pro women's league. And that ended up leading into me getting asked to work with all the U.S. Olympic and Canadian Olympic women as a skills coach and being a GM and coach in the PWHPA the last 2 years. And did I ever think that I would eventually end up back into guys hockey and junior hockey? The long story is yes. I find it more rewarding coaching at this level, only in the fact that I like the development process, and I like the advancement and helping kids get to college, whether they're male or female. I definitely enjoyed my time with the women, and I would go back there, obviously, if another good opportunity came back. But obviously, women's hockey is growing right now with the landscape, and I did what I had to do with them and help them out. And I still actually work with the women on the side. But it was just a good opportunity to me to get back into like junior hockey and helping kids get to college. And I'm more passionate about the development process opposed to the professional process.
So let's dive into that more then for a second, because you keep using the word development process. You have to say that obviously when you're working with Olympic women's hockey players, did you find yourself teaching as much as you do with the boys juniors?
Oh, that's a hard question. It's two different things. I mean, when you're working with professionals every day, they show up every day. They have the mindset and the mentality where they know what it takes to be at that level, to be at the top of their game. And working with those women is tremendous, and you really don't get a good appreciation for it until you actually see how dedicated those women are every day and how hard they work. And they're true pros, and I'm a firm believer that they deserve equal pay to guys, and I'm a full believer as they deserve the same resources as the males do at the professional level, because they put in just as much work as the guys do. The difference between them and junior hockey is, I think, we get young men and we're trying to teach them how to be professionals. Mm-hmm. We're trying to teach them to get into the routine. We're trying to teach them about taking care of their bodies. We're teaching them about being in the gym, eating right, showing up every day and giving everything you have. And it's two different things. I mean, with the women at the pro level, it's like those people already know what's expected and they do that. But at our level, it's about like teaching these young men about what it takes to be at that professional level.
Yep. And let's dive back into the junior side of things. You said that there weren't a lot of nerves as the season got started last year. And then you come out and you win your very first 2 games. Did that feel like a huge weight off your shoulders right away?
I'd be lying if I said it wasn't a good feeling, but anybody that's been around knows it's a long season, right? So we win the first 2 games, but if we win the first 2 games, but if we lose the next 30, it doesn't mean anything, right?
Yep.
So looking back on last year, I mean, obviously it was great to start off the season with 2 wins right off the bat, just to get the guys some confidence and get them rolling. But after, when the season was over and I kind of looked back on it, even though, I mean, like, come on, this is such a good league, the AHL. The coaching is tremendous in this league. All of our coaches are really good. It's so competitive every day. I mean, you can't take a game off. If you take a game off, no matter who you're playing, you're going to lose. But looking back at the end of the year, even though our goal is to win, I mean, there's that common saying in sports, if you don't win the last game of the year, nothing matters, right? But obviously it sucked that we lost in the second round of playoffs, but I kind of kept on referring myself back to the movie Moneyball with Brad Pitt and Jonah Hill.
Yep.
And I'm not comparing ourselves to a Major League Baseball team or the Oakland A's run what they did, but I firmly believe as an expansion team, we kind of hit a home run and we didn't even realize it. And the fact that it's hard. This is a good league. There's good coaches. There's good players. And the fact that we did as well as we did, and we were able to get all of our age outs, college commitments, in a way, it was a home run, and we didn't even realize it.
It was the best thing that you could possibly ask for. And you mentioned how competitive the league was. When you dive into the numbers, I guess you could say, of last year's season, I don't know if you realize this, but when you look at just the games that were decided by 2 goals or less, you won 13 of them. You lost 11 of them. Included in that total, 8 of those losses were by a single goal. When you take a step back now in the offseason and you look at those numbers, how do you find a way as a coach to come out on top, maybe 3/4 of the time moving forward, knowing what that can do for you in the standings?
And that's a good point, Neil. We actually talked about that a lot as like an organization and coaching staff. I mean, I think it was the first half of the year. We were in most of the games and we lost. I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we had either the second or third most overtime or shootout losses in the entire league. So like you said, they were second most. We were like 1-goal games, right?
Yep.
And one bounce our way, one bounce, it changes everything. But at the end of the day, we were a young team, and I'm not making excuses for us. We were a young team. We were an expansion team, and I'm sure the biggest thing that most coaches and organizations would tell you is building a culture and a mindset is important to be successful.
Yep.
And again, not making excuses, but being in a COVID year, it was really hard I felt looking back on it, it was really hard for us to like get a culture right away or a mindset or the right environment we wanted.
Yep.
With COVID, because obviously there was some rescheduling of games and stuff like that. So we win a couple and then we'd have to be off a couple days, and the guys weren't allowed to like hang out really outside of the rink and bond together. So I think you'll notice at the end of the year, we started to do a lot better, but I think it's just because it took a little bit longer for our team to kind of gel and for us to build that environment and that culture and that mindset that we really wanted to build.
So let's go into that end of the year, because you won 6 straight games to go into the postseason. Could you ask for anything better than to have that run?
No, honestly, no. I mean, again, another cliche saying in hockey: it's not how you start, it's how you finish, right?
Yeah.
And it's about peaking at the right time.
Yep.
And our team definitely peaked at the right time. At the end of the year, when the game started to matter more and when the intensity picked up, our guys started to come together. They started to gel. They started to get that culture and that environment and that mindset that we wanted. And like you said, winning's contagious and losing's contagious. And once we started to get that taste of winning, our guys were just hungry and they just had something to prove.
Yeah. And you mentioned how young your team was, but you also mentioned helping all of your age outs get committed, which is an accomplishment on its own. And I think it was a few of your age outs in particular down the stretch that really stepped up and helped lead you on that 6-game winning streak that turned into 2 wins against the Apple Corps that helped you win that playoff series. Obviously, you did lose to the Little Flyers in the following round, but a team that you had a great chance against. But let's talk about one player first in particular. You have a chance to bring in a goalie in Matt Sales late in the year last year, and he played in 9 total games for you. In all 9 games, he made over 30 saves, and he won 6 games for you throughout that time. How big of an impact did he make on the whole organization?
Matty was a big addition to the locker room. There's no question about that. But on saying that, I also want to touch on our other goalies. I mean, our other goalies throughout the whole year put us in the position that we were in for Matty to kind of step in. So without all the other goalies prior to him, we wouldn't even had the opportunity in the standings to end up finishing where we did or get us where we were. So I want to give them credit by being successful through the whole year prior to Matty getting there. But when Matty did get there, he came with that obviously he came from the 87s, which is a winning organization with that winning attitude and that winning environment and that mentality. And he kind of just right from day one came in our locker room and he kind of just took it over. It's hard to explain unless you were there. He gave, I don't even want to say that he gave our team a chance to win every night. Down the stretch, I would say that he won games for us.
Yep.
There's a difference.
When you guys picked up your first victory against the 87s down the stretch, and he was in goal, a shutout win in their building, did he say anything to you, or how much did that moment mean to him? That reaction tells a lot.
That win was, I honestly, if you had to ask me any turning point in our season, that was probably one of them, because we obviously struggled with the 87s all year. I mean, like most teams, let's be honest here. We struggled with them. I mean, I believe out of the 4 or 5 games we played prior to Maddie coming to us, 3 of them were 1-goal games, and I think 2 of them they beat us by 2 or 3 goals, but they were still close games. We were I believe 3 of those 5 games we were actually leading going into the third period, and they came back and beat us. But that's a testament to the 87s and their character as a group that they had. But that win at their rink in their barn, and Matt's first game against his old team and getting a shutout, I would say that was a big turning point for our team, because our team now knew they had the confidence that they could beat the 87s. And it was huge for Matt. And you asked me about what he said to me. It wasn't really, there was no words. It was more of an emotional thing where we hugged it out afterwards. And I told him I was super proud of him.
Yeah. And then from a forward perspective, a player that joined your program a little bit earlier than Sales did was Connor Tartaglione. He joined your team in mid-November, averaged just under a point per game with 30 points and 31. But what stood out to me down the stretch for him were the 10 points in the last 5 regular season games, and then 4 more points in the postseason, including a game winner. And of course, he's going off to college this fall as well. How proud of him are you of what he accomplished this past year?
Tags is a tremendous hockey player, and a lot of people probably don't know this, but he had some things going on in his life, and he kind of struggled at the beginning when he got to us. I mean, he was still a great player, but once he started to get settled in and get into a rhythm, it would be hard to say that he didn't put the team on his shoulders at the end of the year and lead the way.
Yeah.
He had a tough year personally, and to see him overcome that and be able to turn it on and put the team on his shoulders at the end of the year and step up in a big way. I think he scored like 2 or 3 game-winning goals down the stretch in the last 10 games, and he also scored that overtime winning goal against Applecore in the final game. I'm very, 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 very proud of that kid and super happy for him that he's one of those rare kids that got to choose where he went to school because he had options, but that's a testament to his hard work and his hard play in this league that so many schools were willing to commit to him, and he got to choose where he wanted to go.
Yep. And he's heading off to Lake Forest College this fall. A player that's also committed, but not heading off until the following fall, is Tyler Ebeling. If Andy Moore isn't in this league this past year, I think Ebeling as an 0-2 has as good an argument as anyone to be the rookie of the year. Were you surprised by how good he was in his first season in the EHL?
Yes. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had a lot of people in the local area where we live were kind of doubting my decision taking him.
Okay.
But I didn't. Honestly, I had people that were reaching out to me that had doubts, but he would train with me in the summer at the rink, and I just saw his work ethic every day, and I'm like, this kid's work ethic alone is going to get him places. And Ty is one of those guys where he was given an opportunity I'm going to be on, like, if he was with another team this year, he may have not got the opportunity, but because we were an expansion team and all the players were new to me, I was new to them. So opportunities were out the window. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have any favorites. I didn't have my first line in place or my second line in place. I played it as that whoever shows up and competes, that's what line you're going to be on every day.
Okay.
And from the drop of the puck, Ty earned his way in our top 6, and he just ran with it. He never looked back. I can't speak volumes about that kid, and like, this is why I love coaching junior hockey. It's like I said, it's that development process and just watching kids be able to get to the levels they want to. Ty sat in my office. It's a true story. In September, and when I do my interviews with all my players about their grades and what are their goals for college and where do they want to go. The first school that Ebeling said to me when he sat in my office, he's like, "Coach, I want to be an engineer. My parents are both engineers, and it's just what I've always done. My dream school is Milwaukee School of Engineering." And 3 months later, Coach Johnson from Milwaukee School of Engineering called me and said, "I want Tyler Ebeling." And that's why we do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
To be able to call Tyler into my office and say, Milwaukee School of Engineering wants to commit to you. It's just such a rewarding feeling to just be able to see that the kid put the smile on his face and just know that everything that he's done up to this date has paid off. And he's a 200-foot player, and any team in this league would be lucky to have him.
Yep. And I know you mentioned this earlier, that this saying of if you don't win the last game of the season, it doesn't really matter. Obviously, there's only one champion from this past year. But with the third place finish, with the games that you won down the stretch and the commitments and everything else that you guys accomplished in year number 1, where do you truly set the bar as your main goal heading into year number 2?
I knew you were going to ask me that. I hate you.
Well, obviously the championship would be
yes.
the cream of the crop, the best thing that you want. But how do you build off of what was a great foundational year, if you will?
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, and I mean, like, I'm not like, I'd like to think that we would agree that our team did pretty well for an expansion team. So the bar's pretty high for next year. Let's put it that way. And I have 7 eligible returners. We'll say. All of those 7 eligible returners have been invited to NCDC and NOL camps. So whether they end up back with me yet is still unknown. But if I can retain those 7 experienced players and mix them in with the players that I've already signed for next year, I'm very confident that we can be better than we were last year. Obviously, the goal is to win every year. Not making any excuses, but the bar is pretty high in my mind. Let's put it that way. We all do this as coaches and teams and organizations. We're in this to win. And anything else other than winning, because we're so competitive, it feels like a failure. But the bar right now is really high. I don't want to put any predictions out.
Okay.
But I expect my team, if I can retain at least 5 of my returners mixed in with all the other additional players that I've signed to date, I expect us to be 1 or 2 in our division next year.
Okay. I like that prediction. And you mentioned the 7, eligible returners that you have. Obviously doesn't fill the whole roster. So when you compare last offseason to this offseason again, how much has your recruiting message changed towards new prospective players based off of what your team did accomplish this past year?
The message is not much different, Neil, to be honest with you. The message is, if you want to come to a great organization with great ownership, again, sorry, a little shout out here. I mean, not to get off a side topic here, but I can't speak enough for my owners Pascal and Debbie, and my boss, Joe Bacchino, and Stephen Rue, our hockey ops director. Everyone knows that it takes an entire team and an entire organization to be successful. And without those guys and ladies, we wouldn't have been as good as we were last year or successful. But it's just the message is just that if you want to come to a place where you get treated great, our facility is beautiful, it's nice, great locker room, great gym, great trainers. If you want to come to a place where you're going to develop, where we are expecting to be really good next year, and playing in our league, and the EHL is a big selling point too. Just our league speaks for itself with college placements. But the message, honestly, this offseason hasn't changed much. It's just we want guys that want to be here, and if you want to be a part of what we've built off of last year, because look how well we did do last year in our first year. Think about what we can build off of and just keep on continuing to get better and stronger. And that's really the message this offseason, is building off of last year and just getting to the goal next year is to get to the Providence. And anything other than that, I'm not going to be happy with myself or our organization, to be honest with you. That's the goal next year, is Providence. And our goal every year is to continually to get better. We don't want to decline. We want to continue to go up the ladder. And that's the goal. That's the message.
Well, there you go. 2 questions later or so, I did get the main goal out of you. Reach the Frozen Finals. All right, there we go.
Yeah.
We'll mark it down.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the podcast for the first time, and enjoy the rest of the off season.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to The E-Show. Learn more at easternhockeyleague.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Also, be sure to subscribe and get notified when next week's podcast is released.